Hello everyone, it's Richard Lewis here again with another video. Haven't done one for a while, apologies again, but we're going to get right into this one because it is an update on a legal case that I know everybody who follows my YouTube channel has a great interest in. Indeed, if you've got even a tangential interest in gaming, this is certainly an interesting case. And this is, of course, Phantomlord and Twitch have been going at it. For those that missed earlier videos and haven't been following the saga, for reasons we'll get into, Twitch terminated the contract they had in place with Phantomlord and removed him from the platform. Phantomlord spent some time streaming on YouTube, and he's now decided a few months ago to file suit against Twitch, arguing that the termination of the contract he had in place was unfair. Well, Twitch have finally responded to that. And what I thought was interesting was they weren't just responding as a defendant; they're now named as a cross complaint, so they're a cross complainant, which means that they believe they have grounds also for legal action against Phantomlord. That's how I understand it. That's how it's been explained to me in layman's terms, because obviously not a lawyer, only have a cursory understanding of the law and contract law. But anyway, I thought we'd get into it because there's lots of interesting things in this document that's come back from Twitch that is certainly relevant to the discussion. Now, a lot of people have been saying, actually on the surface of it, when Phantomlord's lawyers put in their complaint, looks like he might have had good grounds. Everyone was saying, oh, wow, this actually looks as if there might be grounds for his complaint, and who knows, maybe he's going to win. I mean, it's a long way to go yet, and it's certainly too early in the proceedings to speculate one way or the other. But, and again, always remember that it is the responsibility of a legal team to present the most favorable case as the facts allow on your behalf. But this certainly brings some new information to light, which we should take into consideration. Now, the first thing here is these are just some facts that they establish here, which is that they entered into a contract on the 15th of November, 2012. It says here exactly sort of what that includes, and they attach the contract as Exhibit 1. We're not going to read that whole thing. That would extend the video quite unreasonably. And it explains how broadcasters are selected to become Twitch partners, how it all works. You can see here as well that they entered into a content license and base network agreement, also attached. In the agreement, Varga, that's Phantomlord, he's called Varga obviously throughout the document. Varga represented and warranted that the licensed content would comply with all applicable laws, rules, and regulations, and would not infringe or misappropriate the intellectual property rights of a third party. The agreement also expressly limits the types of content that Mr. Varga as a content provider was permitted to broadcast on Twitch, and they include the clause from the contract here. Content provider, that's obviously in this case Phantomlord, represents and warrants that, as applicable, the licensed content used, broadcast, streamed, distributed, and otherwise exhibited in accordance with this agreement, the content provider websites and or the content provider channels included, all content appearing within, do and will not include content that are not and will not be of a subject matter that is prohibited by the content guidelines described on, and it's Exhibit E in this document. You can see here it says things that you agree not to stream as part of the content guidelines are adult-oriented products or services, salacious products or services, or other material which would generally be considered obscene or indecent, content that a reasonable person would deem objectionable, indecent, vulgar, or offensive. B, content which promotes illegal activity, mail fraud, pyramid schemes or investment opportunities or advice not permitted by applicable law, content which is unlawful or pornographic, content which constitutes hate speech, and any other activity that contravenes any applicable laws or regulations, including poker, lotteries, gambling products, or other wagering activity. Now, again, I am not a lawyer, but that certainly seems to me to include these casinos. Now, it does beg the question, these online skins casinos. So it certainly does beg the question how anyone was ever able to stream these types of services on Twitch, honestly, and why Twitch ever allowed it or turned a blind eye to it. I mean, that is a separate question, something that cannot be answered by this document. But it's not just, Phantomlord that stream that stuff. I mean, I'm trying to be as fair and as objective here as possible. I think if we all know that during the height of skins trading and skins gambling, you could go onto a lot of popular streamers' Twitch channels and they would be spinning these wheels and doing whatnot. So if we are arguing here that activity contravenes applicable laws or regulations and includes gambling products, then I don't know why there wasn't a bigger clampdown sooner, honestly. But anyway, we'll certainly get into that a little bit later on. In addition, the terms of service prohibited certain conduct. On or around April 1st, 2014, Twitch and Mr. Varga entered an amendment to the agreement, renewing the term of the agreement for 2 years. This was the famous 2-year clause that was cited in Phantomlord's suit, where he says he's entitled to a proportion of revenue based on the non-completion of that term. The agreement thereafter would renew automatically for successive 1-year renewal terms. The amendment to the agreement is attached as Exhibit 3. So then we move into this. In or around September 2015, Mr. Varga began regularly streaming non-gaming CSGO skin gambling content during his live stream broadcasts on Twitch. Explains what skins are, yes, we all know. Valve Corporation, the publisher of CSGO and owner of Steam, a video game and in-game item marketplace, does not permit or condone this secondary marketplace for skin gambling and cash outs, because that is what the site allowed for, and certainly that's what people were doing, right? Now, Valve have always said we don't want these we don't want these moving off marketplace. We do not want non-marketplace transactions to be occurring. That is against the TOS. And you can see here it is actually included in this legal document. So Valve named in this document, and their rules, terms of service, and everything named in this document. Obviously, Twitch have agreements with developers to comply with their terms of service. Twitch's rules of conduct, which were incorporated into its terms of service, which Mr. Varga agreed to on November 15, 2012, list behaviors that are prohibited, violation of which could lead to suspension of a user's account or channel. The rules of conduct in effect from November 20, 2015 through to December 30, 2016 likewise provided that all content that is neither gaming related nor permitted under the rules for Twitch creative conduct is prohibited from broadcast. That means CSGO skin gambling content is not considered gaming or creative content, and therefore users and partners like Mr. Varga were prohibited from broadcasting it on Twitch under the rules of conduct at that time. So again, they explicitly say all of those people that you saw that had an agreement like this in place, that was streaming these types of skins gambling content, were contravening Twitch's rules, and yet we all know it was widespread. And we didn't we all say this at the time? Like, why is this allowed on Twitch? Why aren't you stopping this? And there was never any answer, and there was never any clarification. And lo and behold, we are now invoking that this was against the rules. And again, it was. We all understood that, but it certainly wasn't enforced en masse. Mr. Varga knew non-gaming CSGO skin gambling content was not permitted. Twitch is informed and believes that Mr. Varga was notified on or around September 28, 2015 that a streaming of non-gaming CSGO skin gambling content was not permitted. Mr. Varga was again notified of CSGO skin gambling content violations in April and May of 2016. Twitch received notice of Mr. Varga's 5th violation of Twitch's non-gaming content rule on June 1st. That says 2106. It means 2016. Don't know if that typo will matter in the grand scheme of things. Who knows? Anyway, it also goes on to say here, on June 22nd, 2016, Twitch suspended Mr. Varga's account after Mr. Varga committed his 9th violation of Twitch terms of service in the span of 2 months. So this lines up with reporting that we did on this channel, because if you remember, we had mods come forward and we had other people and parties that said, and I think we showed conversation logs and interview transcripts that said, yes, James Phantomlord was angry that he had been warned again, and that he was having to not broadcast his gambling content. And we also know from Phantomlord's own suit that a Twitch employee who was named as saying, listen, I don't understand the rules. It seems a bit of a clusterfuck, but you should certainly tone it down. So we know he was in conversations. Now Twitch is saying we've got proof he had 9 violations in the span of 2 months. And it says here, not just the 5th, there was 5 violations of non-gaming content. But it also says here, his violations included the streaming of non-gaming CSGO skin gambling content, as well as the streaming of sexually suggestive content. I have no idea what that would be. Content involving self-harm. I have no idea what that would be. And if anybody knows, please let me know in the comments. And content involving racist symbols, which I also have no idea what that would be. All of which are prohibited under Twitch's then current terms of service, which are attached. And it reiterates them there. As a result of these numerous infractions, Twitch questioned Mr. Varga's willingness and ability to abide by the terms of service and rules of conduct it had in place to protect its users. In the year leading up to his termination, Twitch documented over 15 different violations by Mr. Varga of its terms of service and or rules of conduct, with more than 10 occurring in his last month. Upon receiving a temporary suspension for one of these violations, leading to the termination of his account a month later, Mr. Varga joked about the suspension and used it to generate more publicity for himself. Twitch also received an extraordinarily high number of reports from users raising concerns about Mr. Varga's broadcasting. Now again, this is all in line with my findings, my reporting, so I'll editorialize here for a moment. You can see that as it became more and more important for him to make money from the business, the instances with which he would gamble, we all know he used to have these prolific, super long marathon streams where he would just be gambling and would play no other game. We all remember those. And indeed, it doesn't surprise me if it did generate an extraordinarily high number of reports, because first of all, you had people who just objected to the skins gambling in the first place. Second of all, you've got your usual bunch of haters, people who dislike any popular figure, who will just watch their stream fastidiously to report them for any mild transgression. And then thirdly, you had a lot of fans of Phantomlord's gameplay streams, which he wasn't doing anymore, who were going out and then reporting because they just wanted him to stop gambling. Some people were even genuinely concerned with the sheer volume of gambling that was occurring on his channel. Now, interestingly enough, we all remember the $100,000 CSGO skin giveaway promotion that he built up. And they say here that that promotion violated applicable terms and rules. It says, despite receiving notice of his many non-gaming and other content violations, and despite his account being suspended that week, on June 25th, 2016, Mr. Varga conducted a CSGO skin giveaway promotion on his Twitch channel that directed users to a third-party skin gambling website in which Mr. Varga had an undisclosed ownership interest. You will notice that they state this as a matter of fact. And what's interesting is, in this legal document, it doesn't even make any reference to my report whatsoever. You've got to remember some facts here. First of all, the Skype logs were already out there on the internet. All I did was get the complete ones and publish them. The incriminating passages were already out. And second of all, they also seem to state here that they've done their own sort of investigation and found a business tie, which I can't remember if we published that or not. I don't think we did. So anyway, we'll come to that. The giveaway violated Twitch's terms of service, the rules of conduct, the agreement, and the terms of Valve. The terms of Valve's, obviously, TOS for Steam. It misinformed, scammed, and defrauded Twitch and its users, and was potentially illegal. This is unbelievably strong language in this suit. Valve confirmed its opposition to the secondary market for skin gambling websites on July 13, 2016, when it posted an announcement making clear any relationship with third-party skin gambling websites is prohibited under its application programming interface, the API, and user agreements. The announcement attached here to as Exhibit 7 said. Now, again, I read you the full document in another YouTube video that you can find in this channel. So we know that Valve were prohibiting these services. We know they started to clamp down and started limiting gambling sites' access to the API and the bots and all of that kind of stuff. And they did say in no uncertain terms, it's cease and desist time, my friends. On the same day, Twitch also released a statement reminding its users that pursuant to its terms of service, Twitch prohibits users to stream content that breaks the terms of service or user agreements of third parties, and it attaches that statement. Indeed, the agreement required that any content broadcast on Twitch must not infringe or misappropriate the intellectual property rights of any third party. Mr. Varga's streaming of content that violated Valve's rules was a breach of this obligation, and it repeats that as well. Twitch's rules of conduct likewise prohibited content or activity that disrupts, interrupts, harms, or otherwise violates the integrity of Twitch services or another user's experience, including misinformation and defrauding others, and any content or activity featuring or encouraging illegal activity. The content guidelines also prohibit content which promotes illegal activity along with lotteries, gambling products, or other wagering activity. Twitch's applicable terms, rules, and guidelines thus made clear any illegal, fraudulent, misrepresentative wagering or otherwise objectionable according to Twitch's judgment content was prohibited, and Twitch specifically prohibited content that breaks the terms of service or user agreements of third parties such as Valve's terms, which prohibit third-party secondary market CSGO skin gambling websites. Mr. Varga's CSGO skin giveaway promotion violated these terms, rules, and guidelines. Now we move on to the specifics of the promotion. But I will add, I'm sure you can all see already, well, hang on a minute. A lot of people who were in the camp about Twitch having him bang a right, Phantomlord having Twitch bang a rights, I'm sure you're going to be flip-flopping now, because this is certainly a far more compelling and structured argument, as I see it. On June 25th, 2016, Mr. Varga ran a CSGO skin giveaway promotion on his Twitch channel where he gave $100,000 worth of free CSGO skins only to subscribers of his Twitch channel by referring those subscribers to CSGO Shuffle. Twitch is informed and believes that at all relevant times, CSGO Shuffle was a Nevada corporation registered under the name Phantomlord Incorporated and owned at least in part by Mr. Varga. CSGO Shuffle was a secondary market skin gambling website that enabled users to gamble CSGO skins by entering them into a lottery jackpot to bet on the outcome of CSGO games in which Mr. Varga participated. The CSGO Shuffle jackpot could be cashed out for real-world currency. CSGO Shuffle was thus the exact type of third-party skin gambling website that Valve prohibited under its API and user agreements. Twitch is informed and believes that Mr. Varga broadcasted videos on his Twitch channel promoting CSGO Shuffle to Twitch users. Some of these videos show Mr. Varga winning skins and jackpots on the site. One such video, for example, stated Phantomlord $29,000 win on CSGO Shuffle. Pursuant to Twitch's terms of services, Mr. Varga alone was responsible for these promotions, including ensuring their compliance with all applicable rules and laws. And of course, we've got the whole non-disclosure issue. Mr. Varga never disclosed to Twitch's users that he had an ownership interest in CSGO Shuffle, and I don't think he's ever actually accepted that. I think even now, even in his suit, it states that the claims that he owned the website aren't true, or rather, it's very vague in what it states is untrue. So it's the reporting I did apparently is inaccurate, is what it says in his suit. But everything else around it seems to verify it. Mr. Varga, and indeed, you would have to even object to the reporting. You would need to sort of either accept one way or the other whether or not he owned it. To deny ownership does seem a bit strange, especially in light of that information named in this suit saying that it was registered in Nevada under Phantomlord Inc. I mean, hell of a coincidence. Mr. Varga never disclosed to Twitch's users that he had an ownership interest in CSGO Shuffle and therefore misrepresented his financial interest in the skins giveaway he was promoting on his Twitch channel. Mr. Varga's failure to disclose his ownership interest violated, among other things, Twitch's rules of conduct, prohibiting scams, misinformation, and defrauding others. Twitch is informed and believes that Mr. Varga also used his ownership interest in CSGO Shuffle to rig results in his favor using data generated by a CSGO Shuffle algorithm to rig the outcome of the skin lottery jackpots. Mr. Varga would also frequently request that a co-owner or operator of CSGO Shuffle, Joris Duhal, deposit skins into Mr. Varga's account so Mr. Varga could gamble with in-house currency and promote CSGO Shuffle through skins giveaways. These actions again violated, among other things, Twitch's rules of conduct, prohibiting scams, misinformation, and defrauding others, and the content guidelines prohibiting promotion of illegal activity, lotteries, gambling products, and other wagering activity. It shows the now infamous Skype log conversations, a portion of them, where he said, mind helping me win a few rounds? And it says, Mr. Varga was thus using his undisclosed ownership in CSGO Shuffle to rig the outcome of jackpots he was promoting to subscribers of his Twitch channel. He was then using his rigged jackpot winnings to further promote CSGO Shuffle to his Twitch subscribers, pursuant to Twitch's terms of service, rules of conduct, and the agreement content that makes misrepresentations to, scams or defrauds Twitch users, etc., etc. Now, during the skins giveaways, this is a new piece of information. During the skins giveaway, the famous $100,000 skin giveaway, Twitch experienced a large increase in subscribers to Mr. Varga's Twitch channel. However, almost half of the subscribers that subscribed to Mr. Varga's channel during the skins giveaway cancelled their subscription, and Twitch received a large number of fraud-based chargebacks from these subscribers. We all knew something was wrong, meaning Twitch was required to refund the revenues received from the subscription. So now, Twitch are out of pocket. Now you're going to see why they are counter-complainant. The large number of fraud-based chargebacks is both demonstrative of the fraudulent nature of Mr. Varga's skins giveaway and also the objectionable nature of the content based on the reaction of Twitch's users. As noted above, objectionable and fraudulent content is prohibited by Twitch's terms of service. So then it explains when they terminated his contract, and then we're coming to the end of the document, so thanks for staying with us. I hope it's been interesting. I've been fascinated reading this. I'm just skimming over it, but it truly is an interesting case. Twitch's termination of Varga's account due to his numerous violations. So it repeats here that throughout 2016, Twitch personnel sent Mr. Varga various notifications and had in-depth Skype conversations with him, informing him that his CSGO skin gambling content, along with his other objectionable content, as outlined, violated his agreement, Twitch's terms of service, and rules of conduct. Mr. Varga, however, did not stop streaming his non-gaming CSGO skin gambling content, but rather engaged in a day-long giveaway that promoted through cheating and misinformation nothing but non-gaming skin gambling content. See, it's kind of a contradiction, isn't it? Like Twitch say, yeah, you really got to stop that. He goes, what if I just do it all day? What are you going to do? Mr. Varga's skins giveaway flouted Twitch's terms and rules and did so to take advantage of it and profit from Twitch and its users. Twitch is informed and believes that Mr. Varga's CSGO Shuffle skin gambling website was the subject of a number of lawsuits, and it was eventually taken offline. Now, we covered some of them. When it says a number of lawsuits, I'm intrigued. I wonder if we missed a few, honestly, because that makes it sound more than the ones we covered. So that's interesting. On July 19, 2016, Twitch terminated Mr. Varga's account after learning about Mr. Varga's undisclosed financial interest in CSGO Shuffle, coupled with his long history of unabated violations of and flagrant disregard for his agreement with Twitch and Twitch's terms and rules. In the days leading up to his termination, representatives of Twitch discussed Mr. Varga's repeated breaches, the skins giveaway, and the information about Mr. Varga's involvement in CSGO Shuffle in person, and gave him an opportunity to explain his position. Mr. Varga did not attempt to communicate with anyone at Twitch regarding the termination of his account until December 2016, the month after a lawsuit filed against him was dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. Now, I remember that lawsuit. We covered that. In the Western District of Washington, more than 4 months after his account was terminated. So this is also interesting because the way it's always been framed by Phantomlord is that nobody from Twitch attempted to communicate with him, and he was uncertain, completely clueless, in fact, as to why he'd had his account terminated, that they never told him. And indeed, it's been intimated publicly that, it was because there was the fake sub-train, it was nothing to do with the skins gambling thing, it was something else. You know, nobody was really certain. And Twitch, obviously, to respect a user's privacy, cannot comment on this type. They can't come out and say, this is why we suspended this individual's account. I mean, that would be unprofessional, right? So even though the public might want to know, you've got to respect Twitch's adherence to their own privacy policies. But certainly, we can now see here that if this is true, and Twitch did say to him, look, let us know what you think about this. Let us know what's going on. This is what we think's happening. And he didn't want to potentially incriminate himself while there was a lawsuit going on. I mean, that's what's being intimated there. Then it's very hard to sort of sympathize when you say, they never told me. Well, they certainly gave you a chance, it seems, to discuss what was going on. And certainly told you. But if that's to be taken at face value. Twitch paid Mr. Varga the full amount he was owed up to the time his account was terminated, and Twitch did not withhold the amounts that were subsequently charged back or withheld following the skins giveaway, even though Twitch had a right to withhold those amounts. So again, they didn't hold him personally accountable for the money that he caused them to lose, or rather his giveaway caused them to lose, and the fraudulent activity of the people who took part in the giveaway caused them to lose, even though they could have done that. It was not until April 5th, 2017, that Mr. Varga retained counsel and sent a demand letter to Twitch demanding his account be reinstated because it was allegedly not terminated with proper notice. Notably, Mr. Varga did not dispute he received actual notice of multiple breaches of the content guidelines in the agreement and Twitch's terms. Neither in all the communication from Mr. Varga's counsel regarding the termination of Mr. Varga's account did Varga deny or attempt to deny that he streamed improper skin gambling content or other objectionable content on his Twitch channel. Instead, he merely claimed that other Twitch partners were streaming similar content. And again, unfortunately, while that is true, and it's not right to selectively enforce rules, the two wrongs in this issue clearly don't make a right. Did you violate the rules? Yes. It's irrelevant if the other person over there also violated the rules. It's up to the company to enforce them. So yeah, letting people get away with certain things might not be cool, but if you've agreed to do something, it doesn't matter if everyone else is breaking that rule that they similarly agreed to. Your agreement's on you, you know. It was then not until February 14, 2018, Valentine's Day, Mr. Varga filed the above action against Twitch, alleging claims amounting to nothing more than a breach of contract. In his complaint, Mr. Varga again does not deny that he promoted a potentially illegal skin gambling website on Twitch, that he failed to disclose his ownership interest in that website, Twitch, and its users, nor that he used that website to cheat his Twitch followers for his own profit. Again, as I said, incredibly strong language. Now we get to the interesting part, well, I mean, it's all been interesting, but this is especially interesting. Basically, these are the cause of action, where you can see what they believe he basically did and why they are becoming sort of counter-complainants. So you can see here that there's a breach of contract issue, there's a breach of implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing issue, there's negligent misrepresentation and fraud, and then they say here, prayer for relief. Now, when you see the prayer for relief, again, this is just layman's terms. If I get something a little bit wrong, I apologize. But my understanding of the prayer for relief is where you say, this is what we want the judgment to be, and this is why, and so we want it in our favor for these reasons, effectively. So just look at this. One, we want a finding that Mr. Varga is in breach of the agreement and terms of service, in breach of the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing contained in the agreement, and is liable for negligent misrepresentation and or fraud. Two, a finding that Twitch has no further obligation to Mr. Varga under the agreement. Three, an award of compensatory damages plus prejudgment interest thereon, along with any further compensatory damages to be proven. So they are saying we're actually entitled to some damages. Now, this is huge to me. I had no idea they would even go down that route. I really didn't think they would. The idea that, and certainly they make the argument above in the where they believe there's been violations. They make the argument that this has damaged Twitch's reputation, which I suppose is an argument you could make. It's certainly not good press for Twitch, is it? But now as well that they've added, they actually lost money because of the skins giveaway and didn't hold him accountable for that. So they ended up doubly out of pocket. There was the refunds and the fact they then didn't withhold that money from Phantomlord. You can see immediately how they can even come to a total for compensatory damage, which is why they say plus prejudgment interest and further compensatory damages to be proven. So that could include reputational stuff. 4, an award of costs of suit or expenses incurred herein, including but not limited to reasonable attorney's fees, expenses and costs as provided by permitted by applicable law. And 5, for such other and further relief as the court may deem just improper. In other words, if you believe that we are entitled to any further damages. And there it is. And there's the attorneys for Twitch Interactive Incorporated, erroneously named as Twitch Interactive Incorporated, I guess. So anyway, just incredible stuff. Super interesting because, again, when we saw the initial filing from Phantomlord's lawyers, a lot of people were like, well, this is actually, there's certainly a case to answer here. Now, with all that additional information, again, taking it at face value, it's very hard to argue, isn't it? I mean, if it's all true, and again, so that's the caveat. I've got no reason to doubt it, but I'll protect myself by saying there's always a chance it could be a fiction. But how can you argue against the termination of contract after all those violations, after repeated warnings? So it's really getting crazy now because, again, I had no idea that Twitch would go down the route to sort of seek damages against Phantomlord. So now what we're going to have to wait for is Phantomlord's lawyers to answer to that, and that's where I guess things are going to get even more interesting. So I just thought I'd give you the update because I obtained the documents. I'm following the case myself. Obviously, I was named in the initial suit. I have no idea if I will be subject to a lawsuit myself. I guess a big part of whether that's true or not depends on how this goes. But just a crazy, crazy story, and one that I think is going to have big ramifications for the whole of streaming culture, gaming culture, and, of course, both parties that are involved in the suit themselves. So anyway, hope that was interesting. Hope that was a fair summary. Thanks a lot for watching the video, and I'll certainly see you on the next one. Until then, take care.